Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe family of companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
The Transportation Security Administration at San Diego International Airport is now accepting a new mobile form of identification. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. KPBS reporter Melissa May shows us the new technology being used at the airport's security checkpoints.
Next.
You can now upload your Real ID to your smartphone and use it to go through security at the San Diego International Airport.
The California DMV worked with TSA on the feasibility of having a mobile driver's license, and it's one of 15 states nationwide that have a mobile driver's license offered to its residents.
Lori Dankers is a TSA spokesperson. She says the new option even works with smartwatches.
The basic information that TSA needs during the identity verification process is transmitted, and at the same time, a real-time photo of the traveler is taken by our equipment. Using facial matching technology, we're able to compare the facial features of the traveler in front of us against the facial features on the driver's license.
And if you're worried about your photo being saved somewhere,
those photos are never stored. In fact, they're deleted the next time another traveler comes up to the unit.
Danker says TSA is now using the latest technology to verify travel documents.
It is able to tell the TSA officer what flight you're on and your screening status. So they'll know, for example, if the traveler is eligible for TSA pre-check, all through this streamlined process.
Danker says with these technologies, people don't have to show their physical ID or boarding pass.
Go ahead and face the cam for me, okay?
She says the units can detect fraudulent or counterfeit IDs.
Because identity verification is a cornerstone of transportation security, that is of huge value to us because we want to make sure the individuals are who they say they are, that they're using bona fide credentials.
Starting May 7th, air travelers over 18 can expect delays if they don't have a real ID. U.S. passports, passport cards, Century, and military IDs are still acceptable. You can access the mobile driver's license portal in your Apple, Google, or California DMV wallet. Melissa May, KPBS News.
We've had a wet stretch of weather here the past couple of days, and the rain, it's going to continue here as we head throughout the day tomorrow for your Friday. After that, I am tracking sunny skies, making a return just in time for your Saturday and Sunday. And then after that, I am tracking a mild, breezy, and sunny forecast here as we head into the early parts of next week. There could be some more rainfall chances. I'll detail that updated forecast coming up.
Yeah, and speaking of the rain, one community keeping a close eye on the creeks during the rain today is South Crest. The neighborhood was devastated by historic flooding last year. The city of San Diego says it's invested millions in strengthening the storm infrastructure, and it sends hundreds of workers to clear out channels during every storm. Despite that, a resident there told our media partner KGTV that after losing so much, it's still hard to feel safe when it rains.
I know the house can be rebuilt again, but our health, we can't. Once it's gone, it's gone. So all I can say is we're in God's hands.
And you can be proactive because if you notice any problem with the storm drains, you can report it to the city through the Get It Done app. Some San Diego homeowners say estimates for a new trash fee is excessive. iNewsSource reporter Crystal Niebla explains how they can stop it.
2 decades ago, Californians passed Proposition 218. It's a law that requires property owners to approve a new fee or rate increase for a city service. And it could be the way that San Diegans stop the trash fee before it would ever happen. Here's how it works. Typically, impacted property owners will receive a letter from the city in the mail before the council can vote on a fee. Owners will then have to sign off on whether they want to formally reject the proposed fee. It sounds like casting a vote, but San Diego City Clerk Diana Fuentes makes clear it's a different flavor of democracy.
It's not voting yes or no, it's just submitting a protest to the rate increase. So it's all a no.
This is called a valid protest. If more than 50% of owners submit this form, the council cannot implement a trash fee. Jeremy Bauer is the assistant director of the city's Environmental Services Department, the city branch that handles trash pickups. He says a majority protest can make them start from scratch.
If the city council wanted to try again, they could look if the department needed to change anything or revise their analysis or try a different approach that might be more amenable to the public.
So far, there is no official proposed fee. The City Council is scheduled to discuss fee options in an upcoming meeting this month, followed by a potential vote in June. For KPBS, I'm our news source reporter, Crystal Niebla.
The city has now rescheduled the public hearing for April 14th. iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. The story is part of our Public Matters partnership. To find out more, go to kpbs.org/publicmatters. The measles outbreak continues to spread across the southern and western United States, reaching nearly 260 cases in 3 states. While state health departments are urging people to get vaccinated, the U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary continues to downplay its effectiveness and safety. Michael Yoshida has the story.
The deadly measles outbreak growing to 258 cases across 3 states. According to local health data, as of March 11th, there were 223 reported cases in Texas, 33 cases in New Mexico, and 2 cases in Oklahoma. State health departments and medical experts urging people to get vaccinated.
The vaccine is one of the safest, most effective vaccines we have, and 90% protection in 1 dose, 97% protection in 2 doses. Oftentimes it will give you lifelong immunity. Sometimes there'll be some slight waning.
Amid calls for more vaccinations to help slow the spread, U.S. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. downplaying the safety and long-term effectiveness of the vaccine.
When you and I were kids, everybody got measles. And measles gave you lifetime protection against measles infection. The vaccine doesn't do that. The vaccine is effective for some people for life, but many people, it wanes.
Kennedy's comments drawing sharp rebuke from experts.
The head of health leadership in this country bungling basic facts at best and sharing outright lies at worst.
While there is some disagreement among experts about how much protection may wane, if at all, they all agree in most cases the measles vaccine does give lifelong immunity against the virus. This year's outbreak, mostly among children and driven largely by unvaccinated populations, is only the 3rd time since 2000 where cases have risen above 200. In Washington, Michael Yoshida, KPBS News.
The North County now has more beds for people to detox from drugs and alcohol. A 32-bed program opened this month in Escondido. As KPBS North County reporter Alexander Wynn shows us, it's much needed in the area.
Down here, all of our offices here are for our intake counselors, for our clinical therapists, and also for our addiction counselors.
Greg Angel is the CEO of Interfaith Community Services. The homeless services provider in Escondido recently expanded its drug and alcohol recovery services.
We're going from 11 to 32 beds.
Interfaith has had a small detox program at its Escondido location for the past 6 years. With 11 beds, they've been able to serve about 200 people each year.
More than 70% of our clients successfully complete the 14-day detox and then successfully graduate into a longer 3 to 4 month residential treatment program.
The expansion nearly doubles the number of detox beds in North County. He says they're especially needed in Escondido.
Tragically, Escondido leads all North County cities when it comes to overdose deaths from methamphetamine and fentanyl. And we see that on the streets here in Escondido.
Last September, Interfaith received a $12 million grant from the county to add 21 more beds. But proposed cuts in Washington are already creating uncertainty for the program's future.
Our detox program is funded through Medicaid funding administered by the County of San Diego. We have a 5-year contract for the expanded detox that we're talking about today. But all of these things are based upon funding availability.
For now, Those interested in participating in the detox program can contact Interfaith Community Services at the number on your screen.
To start the conversation, to see what we can do. We're here to help.
Help that is desperately needed in North County. Alexander Nguyen, KPBS News.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, President Trump's envoy visits Russia as Vladimir Putin hedges on a ceasefire with Ukraine. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
San Diego FC is laying out a plan to address discriminatory chants at their matches. It comes after some fans chanted a homophobic slur in Spanish during the team's inaugural home opener on March 1st. The measures announced today include increased security and promises to eject violators, signage throughout the stadium telling fans discrimination will not be tolerated, a Know Before You Go newsletter to ticket buyers at time of purchase. The team says it could even suspend or abandon the match if the behavior continues.
Not here. Aquí no is basically our idea, that we want everybody to bring their energy and their passion, but there's no place for the goal kick chant that is so controversial and so divisive.
It's an opportunity to represent the values we have in San Diego, all of San Diego County, also Baja California, and I think we always want to champion the values of respect, of love, of compassion, of power of diversity.
The team's next home match is Saturday against the Columbus Crew. CEO Tom Penn and head coach Mikey Vargas are expected to speak to fans before the match about inclusivity and zero tolerance for discrimination. LGBTQ+ advocates in the Imperial Valley are launching 2 new organizations. KPBS Imperial Valley reporter Corey Suzuki says it's a sign of the border county's strengthening queer community.
I meet the founders on a warm, windy evening. There are 4 of them: Clarissa Padilla, Clara Olivas, Joey Espinoza, and Sandra Mejorado. We're outside Sobeys restaurant in El Centro, where they're getting ready to hold their first meeting of a new group called Queer Social Club. Olivas says their goal for tonight is to bring LGBTQ+ people together for dinner and social activities.
This is our first meeting, so we're out here seeing what's going to happen.
How are you guys feeling?
Fantastic. Excited, very excited. Yeah.
Queer Social Club is one of 2 new organizations that the 4 founders are currently working to start. They're also working to start another group called Queer Casa. For both organizations, Padilla says they want to focus on creating new supportive places, which they feel like are missing in the Valley.
A lot of work to be done. There's a lot of resources that are missing. There's a lot of people that aren't being served. And what I would like to accomplish with Queer Casa and Queer Social Club is to create the visibility to be able to uplift and empower residents here in Imperial County that are queer.
These new groups mark a change for the Imperial Valley. For decades, this region, a mostly rural farming county, hasn't been a welcoming place for LGBTQ+ people. For years, there's only been one dedicated organization, the Imperial Valley LGBT Resource Center.
You'd be hard-pressed to someone say that they're happy to be trans in Imperial County.
Raul Ureña was the first openly trans mayor of Calexico, the county's second largest city. For Ureña, it wasn't until she left the valley to go to college in Santa Cruz that she was able to embrace her gender identity more freely.
And then I get to college and I just want to wear makeup and like dresses and heels, and I feel in the safety of my colleagues at UC Santa Cruz.
The Imperial Valley has become somewhat more accepting over time. LGBTQ+ candidates have started winning campaigns for public office, including Ureña, who was elected in 2020. In the last few years, though, there's been another shift. Across the country, experts who study extremism say there's been a movement to restrict LGBTQ+ rights, and the rights of trans people in particular, driven by anti-LGBTQ+ activists, the Trump administration, and far-right legislators. R.G. Cravens is a senior research analyst at the Southern Poverty Law Center.
These groups started to organize around that goal, to use trans identity to wedge apart everybody else, right? Because when you wedge apart coalitions that stand for civil rights, then you leave a vacuum.
Across California, reports of hate crimes and violence against trans people have risen, including in the Imperial Valley. In 2020, a trans woman named Marilyn Cazares was found dead in Brawley. Her family called it a hate crime, sparking local protests. That year was one of the deadliest on record for trans Americans, according to the Human Rights Campaign. The Valley has also seen other high-profile actions, like when a recall campaign in Calexico removed Ureña from office last year, and when, more recently, the Imperial Valley LGBT Center rebranded, removing the letters LGBT from its name. For some, like Ureña, those incidents have made it hard to stay in Imperial County. This past November, she ran for city council again. But after losing, the former mayor left Calexico and has since moved to San Diego.
As soon as I lost the second election, I felt like it was very clear that my gender identity and its presentation was an obstacle. That one as an activist knows when they have to choose self-preservation.
Still, Ureña and other advocates remain hopeful about the future of the Valley's community. These new organizations, Queer Casa and Queer Social Club, are still in their early days. But that need for people to leave to have a place where they feel safe or welcome is what they hope to change. Here's Padilla.
And that's part of what we're trying to accomplish here is in-person connection, in the Valley connection, and not just, oh, well, you can go on a message board. No, you can come and be with us and find your community that will support you, uplift you, help you live a happy, fulfilling, thriving life here in Imperial County.
A couple weeks after that first Queer Social Club event, I meet with Padilla again to hear how it went. They say it was electrifying.
I felt it collectively. You know, it wasn't just a lightning strike for me. It was a thunderstorm and everybody was on fire. Everybody was passionate. Everybody was saying, how can I help? What can I do? When's the next one?
It felt, Padilla seemed to be saying, that people had been waiting for a place like this. In El Centro, Corey Suzuki, KPBS News.
This week marked 5 years since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. And while health officials say most people now appear to recover fully from an infection, some go on to develop symptoms long after the initial infection. Mandy Gaither has more on what we've learned about long COVID.
It's characterized by symptoms that typically develop within 3 months after a COVID-19 infection and may last years. The World Health Organization says the chance of developing long COVID appears to be lower now than at the pandemic's peak, but with the virus still spreading, there's still risk.
Some people are still struggling with it today. About 30% of adults who had COVID have these persistent symptoms. That's what the data shows.
Common symptoms of long COVID include fatigue, breathlessness, muscle or joint pain, and sleep issues.
It does seem to be most correlated with how severe your infection was initially and your overall risk factors at the time of infection. So, for example, your age or your immune function.
Dr. Sanjay Gupta says for many people, long COVID can worsen conditions like lung disease, and up to 40% of those with long COVID appear to have persistent breathing problems, likely due to scarring or thickening of lung tissue from the initial COVID-19 infection.
Many people do seem to eventually recover, or at least improve. And while it may sound simple, doing directed breathing exercises, that can go a long way. And of course, doing everything you can to prevent another infection.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
And Gupta says staying up to date on both COVID and flu vaccines can help protect against future infections. And that's especially important for those over the age of 65 and those who are immunocompromised. Make sure to look up at the sky tonight. A total lunar eclipse is on the horizon. Mayor Bill Gonzalez is at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles to tell us what makes this phenomenon so unique and what you can expect to see.
This total lunar eclipse is also known as a blood moon, and experts say we can witness this about every 1 to 2 years. But tonight, weather permitting, every one of us here in the western part of the world will be able to see this firsthand.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's a total lunar eclipse, a rare event when the moon passes within the darkest part of Earth's shadow.
It doesn't happen that often because the moon actually orbits slightly above and below the Earth's shadow most of the time, but every couple of years it punches through that shadow.
And that time is here. Thursday night, millions of people across the country will be able to witness this moon marvel beginning just before midnight Eastern Daylight Time, according to NASA.
It's very gradual, and the totality, the most impressive part, won't happen until about 11:26 p.m. Pacific time. The big thing with a lunar eclipse is because it's slow, is I usually find it helpful to check in on it a couple times at the night.
As the moon is completely covered in Earth's shadow, it will appear to change color. This NASA data visualization predicts the moon will look like this.
The appearance of a total lunar eclipse is very much dependent on the conditions in the Earth's atmosphere. You're getting the light from all of the world's sunrises and sunsets bending by the Earth's atmosphere onto the face of the moon when it's in totality. And that's why it has this coppery red or so-called blood color instead of being just completely black.
And unlike solar eclipses, we will be able to see this phenomenon with the naked eye. No special glasses needed.
You can even bring out your binoculars and look right at the red moon if you'd like.
The Griffith Observatory will be streaming this lunar event live on their website, but if you don't want to stay up to watch it, you can view a recorded version and a sped up one of this event on the observatory's YouTube page. Reporting in Los Angeles, I'm Maribel Gonzalez.
The rainy weather continues, and as we head into tonight, there will be some low clouds, especially near the coast, with overnight lows a mix of 40s and 50s. So across Southern California, we'll see a mix of 40s and 50s primarily, with a few isolated shower chances here to kickstart your early Friday morning. And we'll even see some mountain snow for some areas, dipping down to 47 tonight for Oceanside and Camp Pendleton. Future track radar is showing that by 6 a.m. Friday morning, heavy snowfall across the interior, heavy rainfall across the coastal areas north of Los Angeles. However, right around 9 a.m., we'll start to see some of that rainfall filtering its way into Southern California, including the San Diego metro. So yes, it will be a wet forecast once again, with the heaviest rainfall being between about midday to late afternoon. And then after that, a little bit of a break in the rainfall here after about 10 p.m. local time. But then after that, looks like we could be in for a pretty nice stretch of weather as we head into the weekend. Here's the overall setup for Friday. Heavy rainfall from the north will slowly work its way to the south here as we head throughout the day. And look at this. Lots of snowfall there across the mountainous regions. But yes, as we head into tomorrow, tracking rainfall pretty much across the entire coastal areas with highs a mix of 50s and 60s, rain cool conditions for us. And then as we head into Saturday, some chillier weather in the interior with that snowfall, but we're going to dry out here across the coastal areas. And then by Sunday, that's when the dry and the temperatures, that's when the dry weather returns, and that's when the temperatures are going to start to rebound. Here's a look at your coast forecast, and you can see rain chances here for your Friday, temperatures in the 50s. After that, here comes that sunshine. Sunny skies for the weekend. Highs will be a mix of mid to upper 60s. Overnight lows as we head throughout the weekend will be in the 40s. On the inland forecast, more rainfall there for Friday before the sunshine is back on the weekend. Sunday, we'll see highs in the 70s. And then across the mountain forecast, we'll see snowfall for Friday, some snowfall once again on Tuesday, and then across the desert, sunny skies with highs in the 70s.
San Diego is home to some truly magnificent trees. You've probably seen them. They've become landmarks around our county. But do you know the story behind these natural giants? Ken Kramer shows us in this story about San Diego.
Here's what they look like. This one is in Oceanside, near the corner of California and Soto. Dean Howe sent us these pictures, and there's a sign on the tree that says it dates from 1932. They are Morton Bay fig trees, and by far the best-known one in San Diego is in Balboa Park, just to the north of the Natural History Museum. It was 123 feet wide when they measured it 15 years ago, and it's grown since then. They come from Queensland in Australia. They like a warm climate and plenty of water. They do bear fruit, and you could eat the figs they produce, but they're pretty much tasteless. What Morton Bay fig trees do is grow. They take their time about it, but they grow. This one in Balboa Park was planted as a 5-gallon tree in 1914 and is now considered one of the champion trees of the state.
Thank you.
Part of what makes them so intriguing is the root systems, which are so near to and above the ground, like some kind of botanical octopus. In fact, they need fairly loose soil around them. That's why in 1989, a fence was put up around the one in Balboa Park. So many people used to walk, picnic, and played around it that the soil was getting compacted. So in San Diego County, where do you think the oldest Morton Bay fig tree is? In the whole state of California, as a matter of fact. Take a look. Here it is in Spring Valley, planted in 1874 at the McCrae Albright Ranch, right near what is now Kenwood Drive and Highway 94. Harrison Albright, who owned the ranch and the tree in 1909, is the architect who designed the Organ Pavilion in Balboa Park and the U.S. Grand Hotel. It's been designated as an historic tree now, and after all these years, it should be. Oh, and one more thing, it's not alone. The current owners, Ron and Janie Ogden, planted a little Morton Bay fig nearby in 2006, still just a baby. As these trees go, it's very small, but it's got a big future ahead, and who knows, may one day be a story itself about San Diego.
Quite the big future, I'd say. And if you want to see more of Ken Kramer's stories about San Diego, be watching tonight and every Thursday night at 8 o'clock right here on KPBS. So here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. During the COVID-19 pandemic, NPR commissioned pieces by musicians from various genres. They listened back on the project 5 years later. And tomorrow on KPBS Roundtable, we discuss the significant rollback to one of California's most aggressive ADU incentives and what it could mean for the future of the program. And be sure to add KPBS to your playlist. We have daily content from our newsroom with San Diego News Now and Midday Edition. Just search for KPBS on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. You can also stream our podcasts on the KPBS YouTube page. You can find tonight's stories right there on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.